Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Money Moves JA Live, brought to you in partnership with Exim Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. My name is Kalila Reynolds. If you're new here, you wouldn't know me, but if you're not new, of course, you do know who I am. And tonight I have a very special guest for you. The country has a new Minister of Industry, Investment, and Commerce. He is Senator the Honorable Aubyn Hill. We're going to hear more about his plans on how MSMEs, how small businesses like you, like me, my business is a small business as well, can benefit through partnership with the ministry and partnership with Exim Bank. But first, here's a look at one business that Exim Bank has assisted.
I'm Fitz Saunders, founder of Central Trading Company, Shocks Depot. If you want to call me the CEO, that's fine. We started this company registered the company in a different name from 1987 when I was still employed in a company. Then we started in 1991 to sell specialized in shock absorbers. Hence we call the place Shocks Depot, which is our marketing name, but our registered name is Central Trading Company. I was introduced to a special institution probably about 10 years ago, which we took the opportunity and work with them, and over the years we have had excellent service. That company is Exim Bank. Someone from Exim Bank called me and introduced the service to me, which I started using, and it has been very helpful to us. One of the things that really caught me was last year during the pandemic, when things just dropped suddenly. And we had some facility with them, and there was not any pressure to say, well, time is coming up and you need to pay. We got called to encourage us, how is the pandemic, how are you doing, when will you be able to pay something, that kind of stuff. Really good encouragement, and it was really heartening to me. And I've been using them since over the years and have no problem with Exim Bank.
Yes, I always like hearing the stories of the people who are, whose lives are transformed, whose businesses are transformed through assistance from the Exim Bank and what they have been able to do with that assistance. Now, I already introduced my guest, but before I bring on my guest, I want to encourage you to hit the like button because I see quite a few of you online already. And what we want to do is tell YouTube that we like this video, and tell Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook over on Exim Bank's page, that we like this video, and that encourages the algorithm to recommend the video to other people who might be interested. Now, I see a few people online. I see Angela saying good night. Ingle Johnson says good night. John Walker says hi, good evening, everyone. Mark Q. Spence says good night, money makers. Good night to you too. And Lisa Davis also giving us a shout out saying good evening, everyone. Levar says Mandible checking in. Now, if you are a small business owner, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are affiliated at all with any MSME, I want you to type right now the name of your business in the chat and where you're operating from. Let us know who you are. Let us know what your business is. Let me know what you guys do and where you are. And of course, if you have any questions for the minister throughout the course of this evening, type them in the chat. Put him in the hot seat. Ask him your questions. What do you as a small business need, and what do you need to know right now? So we want to see who you are, who your businesses are, and where you are located. All right. So with that said, let's bring in the minister. Senator Hill, how are you?
Khalila, and very many congratulations on what has turned out to be a really excellent program. I follow you on pretty much all your social media portals and see the growth that you have engineered and a new business altogether. So
Thank
welcome to the
you.
new business world.
Yes, I have now joined the ranks of the entrepreneurs. So when you hear me asking some questions, I might well be asking for myself.
Very good.
All right, I see one person already has said the Gift Lab Online. That's the name of their business. A shout out to the Gift Lab Online. And the rest of you who, if you have a small business, let me know what your business is in the comments. Somebody's saying that the audio is out of sync with the video. We may be having an internet issue. So if you notice that there may be some sync issues, it might be an internet issue. So hello as well to Blue Ember Concepts. They're an advertising and marketing firm in Mandeville, and Simone Spence is there. Angela McLean is another small business owner with Radiant Auto Rental. So let me know, the rest of you, which companies you're representing. Now, Minister Hill, you have a brand new job as Minister of Industry, Investment, and Commerce. How's it been going so far?
Well, it's really quite wonderful. I take every new opportunity that comes my way in my long career as a real opportunity. And here we are in the middle of a pandemic, trying to get out of it. And the Minister of Finance has managed the economy very well, and those of us who are in cabinet working with him. And it's the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce job now to help business people, small and large, find better ways to do business, enable them, encourage them, facilitate them, and generally make it clear that the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce is here to provide help, cut through the red tape where it is, and sometimes help them over obstacles.
And we know that you are no stranger to the business community, of course. But for those who perhaps don't know, speak to us about what your role entails when it comes to the business community.
I see myself as really an advocate largely for the business community. They must have a voice in government. We have Ministry of Local Government, we have Agriculture, we have Health, and the business community needs a voice and an advocate. The Minister of Finance does a great deal, but they can't be advocate. The minister must keep the books and the money bag. So others have to do it. And I see my role as coming from business and from a bank that would have seen many, many kinds of businesses, many large businesses, small businesses, as a way to be an effective advocate and facilitator and enabler. My job is to go to the Ministry of Finance and say, look, we need it to work better for business. Or the Ministry of Health to say, we need a different kind of regulation. And education to say, these are the needs of businesses when they have young people coming out of universities and high school. So across the board, I see my job as being that advocate. And sometimes I have to work with the business community and say, look, this is the law. We have to follow the law. And in order to make it a level playing field for everyone must follow the law. And sometimes that also is my job.
You know, it's interesting that you consider yourself an advocate for small business, because usually when we talk of advocacy, who are you advocating to? To the government, and you are a member of the government. So yeah, you are more than an advocate. You're a policymaker as well.
And from that end, as a policymaker, right now I've already to begin to look at the 18 or so agencies within the ministry as to how we can make better policy. And the main thing about business, Kalila, as you know, is that you want relative freedom to operate. So if we are to approve a special economic zone company, they don't want to hear that you're going to take 6 weeks or 8 weeks and sometimes months. They want to hear that they make the application, they follow the rules, and they get their approval in a matter of days. So I'm challenging the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority to work towards at first a 48-hour turnaround. It's much longer than that now. And for that to happen, we may have to adjust some regulations, but that's what facilitating business is about. Let them get on with their jobs. After that, they of course have to follow the rules of the game, but we must let them free to do what they want to do as quickly as we can.
Wow, 48 hours to do anything with the government sounds like a dream.
It is
I
a
hate
dream,
to
but
say
you
it
know,
like
if you
that.
don't dream, I've seen. I mean, we had to, Khalil, I'll share the story with you. We have a big a BPO operator here, and they were selling their business to a very big financial firm, well known. Both are well known in the world. One is a $40 billion company, and another one is a huge conglomerate in the United States. And they needed all the 48 or so businesses that they operate, the seller, around the world to sign off on a document without which rather they couldn't finish the deal. Well, things that used to take weeks. My senior advisor, then at the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Bobby Honnigan, who is the deputy chairman of the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority, he and the chairman, Chris Levy, we all got involved. And in the end, we had to get the signature from the Office of the Prime Minister. We got that too. And after getting through the legal activities of the Attorney General's office and so on. So if you have to get it done, you can get it done. What we need to do is not make that a one-off, but make it so that it becomes the norm. So the challenge to Jacisa
That needs to
is
be the
make
standard.
this the norm.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree 100%. Let's see if we can get it done, because we all know government is notorious for that red tape, that bureaucracy, and things take time. And change is not often embraced either. So let's see.
It's not easy. You will hear me called, I'll be called all kinds of names. Today, a cartoon start already. In fact, that cartoon is just fabulous. Encouraged me
I didn't
to
see
make
it.
sure it's in
I need to
the
find it.
Observer. Clovis is on it saying, "Where's the vision?" Well, you know, he energized me. I had my clear vision, but he energized me and he put Jumper on it. Jumper is our biggest agency. Well, we're going to take a look at what that vision is. How do we spend the money, and how the people in there can be as effective as possible to achieve what we must do in terms of getting direct investments in, getting our industries growing, and encourage new ones that we haven't looked at to grow. So I take all that as a nice encouragement to get the job done.
So I found the cartoon. I'm going to share it with the viewers right now.
Go right ahead.
If you never saw it, here it is. Is that you in the window there, Senator?
That's who I'm supposed to be, Kalila. Yes.
I wouldn't have even recognized you. I don't think Clovis
They
captured your
didn't do a
likeness.
good job. Yeah, I think he can do a much better job, but give him time. I'm sure he'll have time.
But he said, Aubyn, where's the vision? So we know it's you. Right.
No
And he's
question.
talking, and Clovis is talking about job creation. And that's something that we always want to know about. Right. Yes, that's a big issue. And we're going to come to that shortly. But first, I want to touch on the issue of investment, both foreign investment and local direct investments. So first, just explain what this is and what are some of the sectors contributing to these types of investments.
Foreign direct investment. Let me start there. Those are the investments that would come in to build a hotel, sometimes to buy a bank and finance a bank or a financial institution, buy an operating business, or inject money. Let's say Grace Kennedy doesn't need any money, but let's say Grace Kennedy needed an injection of funds. They could go to a foreign direct investor and say, look, we'll sell you 5 or 10% of our shares for a whole lot of money. These days would be a whole lot of money because Grace is doing so very well. and that investor or that firm would invest in Grace in that respect. But there's another way. For instance, as I said, we have the hotels that we're looking at. We're looking at a campus of 1,000 acres at the Jamaica Special Economic Zone, where we want to put in the infrastructure and make sure we invite companies to come in. Well, if you are the anchor investor, and the anchor investor probably will need $100 million to begin to put in an infrastructure that they need in that campus, and we're talking about 100 million US as a startup, they would get a 50-year benefit from not paying tax because they're taking such large risk. Then they would put in the infrastructure, build probably a special rail to the airport and the port, so that people who then invest in the campus, and they would say, let's say, right now, Kalila, we have all these hotels in Jamaica, hotels across the Caribbean, hotels across the United States, Canada, and you can't find a place in the region where you'd have a 10-acre plot of businesses that supply hotels. Then you could walk from one end to the other, and by the time you finish in about 3 days, you'd be able to suit out your hotel, except for the people that you need to employ. So we need investors to come in and invest in that kind of business. But we also have local investors. And in fact, I met the retail distributors last week, and I said to them, and many of them in the room are very well established, and I know, because I know from my banking days, that they're very wealthy, but they don't tend to invest in factories and building things in Jamaica. They're traders. So I'm encouraging them that they have capital, they have business acumen, they have reach in the business world. Invest in Jamaica, because if we don't invest to export, and export especially, we will never be wealthy. Israel and Singapore are wealthy. We want to look at them, but they have about the same amount of population, maybe 8 or 9 million people, but they would never be rich countries just selling to 8 or 9 million people. They sell around the world because they're local people and foreign investors invest in their country to export. And Kalila, that will be one of the areas that I will be pushing, working. In fact, I'm moving in an expert team for export into the ministry to work very closely with me, because we have to develop a modus operandi and look over a 5-10 year period where we get to where we want to go. But immediately in the near term, we have to find some low-hanging fruits, and we have some already, exporting to England and elsewhere, but improve on them.
Right. So I was just about to ask you, what are you doing to attract those types of investment? But I think the bigger question now, based on what you have just outlined, is what is being done to encourage the exporters? Because if you're going to be exporting, then we're looking at the local manufacturers. So what's being done to nurture that subsector, some of whom are watching right now?
At this stage, I'd like to compliment the work that Exim has done, sometimes in great difficulty, especially in the last 2 years, where the pandemic has really been very difficult for Exim. But they have done tremendous work in helping a number of smaller businesses get on their feet and sort of steady. And more work will have to be done there. We have to find maybe a bigger balance sheet from which to work, but also to keep the interface with small businesses. Because, Kalila, I run the biggest bank here, and many small businesses find it difficult to enter one of those big banks, I won't name here, to start their business. They feel that they're not welcome. Frankly, they're small. And so there are avenues that have to be found to encourage them. And the Exim model, refined, maybe burnished somewhat, and made even more effective than it has been in the past, is a model that will have to be carried into the future, maybe with some new arrangements around it. But we have to encourage small entrepreneurs to begin to manufacture. But there are some manufacturers who are big, but they tend to look at the Jamaican market and maybe one or two markets overseas. We want them to set their sights and their standards, because you have to have the standards. You can't just go into international market without good standards. So we want them to work towards high standards, set their sights on foreign markets, earn foreign exchange, and develop lots of jobs in Jamaica, which means our country will be better off. We cannot get rich, get better off by selling to just 3 million people in Jamaica. We need to export to foreign markets and bring in foreign revenues from overseas.
Right, absolutely. So, what is the plan to help MSMEs through Exim Bank?
The plan is, of course, to not just give money. Money is important, and we know the shortage of capital that exists in Jamaica. So we have to find ways, and institutions like the DBJ they'll have to coordinate with Exim Bank, find some venture capital money, and there is some that exists, and then we have to find ways to help ordinary small businesses to develop sensible business plans, because without that, they really can't get the money that they need, the capital they need, whether it's borrowed money or investment in terms of equity, and nor will they get the kind of people they need unless they have a good, well-balanced and a plan that can be executed. So they need good business plans, and very often they need help. That's where the first help has to be. And I think more emphasis will have to be put there, and some more money spent to help businesses do their plans, so that when they get the money, they don't waste it or run into problems that they should have been able to foresee with a good plan.
So, you're providing technical support?
That's what we will have to do. For instance, when we were going through our IMF problems, Kalila, which I know you're so aware of, because I know you were very much involved as a journalist then in it. When you're going through that, a lot of the help we got, yes, we got a lot of money from IDB. They're probably our biggest lender. And then you have the IMF, World Bank, but they also gave us a lot of technical assistance. What do I mean by that? When I was, when the PM Honus asked me to, from the Minister of Finance with Minister Shaw then, to look at how we revise our property taxes, rather than recreate the wheel, I went to the IMF, and the IMF gave us some really good assistance in making the tax arrangement symmetrical. You don't want a jerk over the place in your taxes. And we got very good technical advice, and they provide that all the time at various levels. So we,
Right,
as
but
a
I'm
government,
talking about technical support for small businesses who are trying to
we as a
access
government have to
financing.
provide similar support to our small businesses. That's why I use the
Absolutely.
analogy.
Absolutely. So, well, the budget debate hasn't begun yet. The budget has been tabled. Can you speak to what is in this year's budget for small businesses?
Well, I won't go into the details, because the truth is we're in a transition phase. For pandemic has taught us that we have to make some changes as to how we're looking at small businesses. But what I can tell you is that there is going to be money for small business and technical assistance coming in the year ahead, because we have to. We don't have a choice. We just have to. So you'll hear Minister Clark outline what kind of spend is expected, and you will hear some changes coming as to how we deal with small businesses, because what we have now will just simply have to be improved if we're going to get to that export drive and build our businesses locally.
I know last year the then minister had said that $600 million would have been pumped into Exim Bank to enable micro, small, and medium businesses to access affordable financing. Are you able to say what figure we're targeting this year?
As I said, because we're in transition, and I can't give away anymore, because we're in transition as to how we're going to actually make that sector, allow for that sector be served broader and in a better way. I expect that there will be substantial funds, maybe more than was just said there, as we move to that new platform from which we're going to serve MSMEs in the future.
So we have a few questions from our viewers, but first I want us to watch this video from Exim Bank, because last year more than 400 loans valued at $4.5 billion were dispersed to MSMEs during that financial year. So let's take this video and then we take some questions.
So I'm Ian Maharaja from Weymouth, and this is Suzanne Maharaja from Weymouth, which is my lovely wife.
You're right.
So Weymouth started about 20 years ago, and we are primarily focused in the water and wastewater industry and specialized construction. But for these trucks that you're seeing around us, most of them were funded by Exim Bank, and we're happy for their funding to allow us to achieve newer units. The experience with Exim has been tremendous. The slogan really ring a bell because they do care. So we agree with their slogan wholeheartedly. During the pandemic, the beginning in March last year, before we realized what was going to happen, we forecasted what was going to happen. So we penned a letter to Exim and asked them for a reprieve, moratorium, not only for ourselves, but we were asking it for all the other persons that would have benefited from them during this particular period. And within a month,
very shortly, yes,
we got a response, and it was a positive response. So they have granted us the moratorium, and we have enjoyed it, and I'm sure the other people would have benefited from the reprieve.
Another great story there of support received from Exim Bank.
A great story. Great story.
Yes. So just before I take these questions, I want to remind our viewers, first of all, hit the like button if you haven't done so that YouTube and Facebook can recommend this video to other people like you who are interested in this conversation. And also, if you are a small business owner or if you work at a small or medium-sized business, let me know who you are. Write it in the comment section, in the chat, in the live chat. Let us know the name of your business and where you're located, and tell us briefly as well what you do. And if you have any questions for the minister, now is the time to ask them. So let me get to a few of the questions and comments in the chat. The first one came from Marcus Sewell. He says, as a small startup, the big hotels and supermarkets want you to produce for dirt cheap and take months to pay. This type of behavior would put a small business out, I guess, before they start. So more of a comment there, Minister.
Well, I'm going to comment directly on that, because there is no way a small business can become banker to a big hotel. And if the big hotel buys from a small supplier, let's say a farm or a small agro-processor, and takes months to pay them, they're going to go bankrupt. So, and you can't expect a hotel, you can't expect a small business to lend to Grace Kennedy. Grace Kennedy doesn't operate that way. So we have to make sure that when small entrepreneurs get into business, big businesses really step up and behave properly. And some hotels in the past and now may have had that reputation, But we're going to work with them to make sure that both sides understand that it's a symbiotic relationship. Each is depending on the other, and one can't, because of size or some other force of power, take advantage of the smaller person. I want to speak about Jampro. I see somebody mentioned
I'll
here
come to that.
in the
I'll
chat.
come to that shortly.
Well, you're
I'll
coming
come
to that, but I
shortly.
want to say this about dealing with the hotels and so on. We have had a linkages program, and frankly, I'm not as happy as I could be watching how it has worked. So we have to make sure that linkages program, where you have small businesses selling to big hotels in this instance, it is a better arrangement, more like a mother farm arrangement, where you have in good farming arrangements, you have a big establishment who helps and assists small businesses to serve their bigger business, not unlike what Toyota did with their mechanics who were not engineers. They helped them to become engineers, and then they had better suppliers to Toyota. So I am going to be taking the linkages program very seriously to Jampro and to our business sectors to say, look, this is a way to make sure our small businesses develop into bigger and stronger businesses, which will be better for the economy and better for your hotels and whatever else you're running.
Well, excuse me, the government also has a similar issue with paying small businesses. The comment there.
I know, while you have a sip, Kalila, I'll just mention that yes, I actually chair the infrastructure committee of cabinet, where contracts, I think over 60 million, all have to come there for review and approval, for review and recommendation to cabinet. Cabinet approves, and I am aware from what I hear in the marketplace that there are times when government is slow on paying, and we know some of the pain that happens. Government sometimes, yes, do have that revenue, that cash flow issue, but more and more, I have seen Minister of Finance and elsewhere trying to make it easier for people who work for the government to get paid on time. I can't hear you, but I see here that JBDC offers training programs for SMEs. We're going to wrap that up, and I know that Ms. Vieira has been doing that for many years. VSJ has program to help them understand standards. JANAC, the Jamaica accreditation company, agency actually, is very good at helping new businesses. For instance, in the pandemic, JANAC accredited a great number of those new businesses that do the BSG, the PSR tests in our nostrils and the antigen tests. A lot of those were accredited by JANAC, and JANAC is an industry that works in 9 other countries in the Caribbean, including the Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Suriname, St. Lucia, Trinidad, and Tobago. So JANAC is doing very, very good work. They're recognized internationally, and we're providing that accreditation to help, just like the Bureau of Standards is doing in another. So all these come out of the Ministry of Industry, Investment, and Commerce to aid businesses, to get new businesses, and to grow their businesses.
I'll take this final comment from D. Steph, who says there was a report recently about a shortage of BPO workers. What is the government doing about this?
I checked that out, and the comment was made, but the truth is I spoke, and today I was with a very big BPO operator here in Kingston. walking through a new building, huge new building in the Malines area that they're going to open very soon. You'll hear more about that. And I talk to other BPO operators, and they don't feel that they have that problem. And in fact, in the Kingston area, they seem to be able to get all the people that they want. And across the country, I don't know that they're having that shortage. But be that as it may, Kalila, if we're going to grow, we're going to have to get into serious apprenticeship and training. I am talking about that from the Ministry of Industry, working, of course, with HART. HART is the training agency. Other institutions like CMU and UTech, NCU, because they're the STEM kind of tertiary institutions. They're all going to get involved. I dare say I would like to see the JDF get involved as well in terms of discipline and so on. So we have Jamaicans, many of them. We have to make sure we get into that training, and all of us have to be involved, even though it is going to be led by HART. And the Prime Minister, as you know, is looking at revamping HART as it is to make it more efficient at this whole business. But yes, I think right now we have enough workers, but we will have to continue to train more.
So I know I said last one, but there's another great one that came in. And I also want to take this comment here from Exim Bank saying EXIM Express ensures companies who do business with the government and other large companies as well are paid in advance, no collateral or finances needed. So it is a form of receivables financing. Yes. And so last question now comes from, where is it? Was it this one? Yes, Nagash. What are we doing about energy? You know, the oil prices are sky high right now. Other than salary, energy is one of the big costs for businesses, especially manufacturers. What's the plan there?
Well, if you have any prizes, you should give Kalash one, because I'm glad for him to ask that question. At the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, I've initiated a working group to look at renewable water and renewable energy. Why water and energy? Water is very heavy. To lift it, you need energy. You might as well get renewable energy with it. But also, I spent 21 years in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Qatar, all over the place. They have oil under the ground, and we have energy coming from the sun. Kalila, we have been extremely retardant. Didn't say retarded, no, don't make them misquote me. And we have not been nearly as effective as we needed to have been on getting renewable energy into our energy mix at the level we need to. We've had this 50% or 30% renewable for 2 or 3 decades now, I don't know, and we haven't been there. Well, Prime Minister has made it very clear. He wants 50% or more, and he doesn't want to hear about the obstacles. We're going to have to find a way to make sure we get more renewables in, because climate change is affecting us and the price is affecting us. At this price, we might be spending $2 billion a year. And yet, I don't know if we're 11 or 12% renewable. That's madness. So we need to know, and I'm on the Joint Select Committee of Parliament looking at the Electricity Act. That has to be changed. There are very important issues in there, right of first refusal. The net billing arrangement is not nearly as effective and efficient as it needs to be. We're looking at those issues. But also, Kalila, we must make it very easy, and if necessary by legislation, that ordinary people, when we put in 50 megawatts of renewable energy, some investors who put in the big energy farm, they make money, 10, 12, I don't know how many of them, maybe 4. We need to make sure ordinary Jamaicans, your producer, your researcher, must be able to put renewable energy and renewable water on their houses. Now, how are we going to do that? Make sure it is all the costs, the equipment, the labor, the fees, are wrapped into a 25 or 30-year mortgage, because if they have to, when they find $8 to $10 million, they and their partners to buy a house on mortgage, they can't put in another 800,000 to 1.2 million upfront to put on the renewables. So they will never do it. So we have to find a way by law to wrap it in the mortgages so that it becomes easy for them to get the benefit of what I call distributed energy. That means it's on various people's houses, not in just one plant, and get the benefit of that sunlight that we have so much of in Jamaica that we're not using nearly as well. In the meantime, people will have to become efficient at using the energy they need. Just use what you need. And energy prices seem to be holding high. Oil prices are high. So it's a great incentive to change dramatically how we source our energy in this country. We have one of the highest global horizontal irradiance, which is how you measure solar, in the world. Germany probably has 2 or 3 weeks of hot sunshine, and they are one of the leading countries in solar energy. And we have all this here, and we're 10, 11, 12%. We need to change that dramatically. And thank you for the question. And we're going to continue on that question in the Joint Select Committee of Parliament.
Yes, a shame. So there was a question that I had intended to come back to earlier. You started touching on it, and we need to come back to it. But it's not really a question. It was a comment from Marlon Johnston. He said, we need to expand the Export Max 3 through Jam Pro. So what's the plan for that program, Export Max?
Well, I am going to meet with Diane Edwards is right now in Dubai. As soon as she comes back, I'm meeting with all the agencies. I'm going to meet with her, and then I just appointed a new board. Senator Webby is still chairing JAMPRO. There's some new members on it. Apart from linkages, how we do export through Export Max, and pulling a set of experts into the ministry to work with me closely. We are going to make sure that export is on the top of JAMPRO's agenda, and we may have to rejig it. If clearly we need to get more, and in order to do that, we may just have to re-strategize and come up with an even enhanced method of getting exports from Jamaica to our markets in the region and wider field.
Thank you so much, Minister. I see some great comments coming in the chat. Jason says the government can give a tax credit to encourage renewable energy. Marlon says NHT should offer solar loans. And then someone else in the comments says, Smart Tech says NHT does offer solar loans.
And they do, in fact. But it needs to be much more efficient and easy, and it must be wrapped into the mortgage in the end.
Absolutely. I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening, Minister. It's much appreciated. And all the best in your new role.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on, and congrats on your program.
Thank you again. So that's it for this episode of Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with Exim Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Make sure you visit their website, eximbankja.com, where you can see what are the things that they actually offer, such as EXIM Express, which we spoke about this evening and last week. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Until next time.
Greetings. I am Patrick Walker, CEO of Comfort Systems Limited. Today I'm here to tell you a little bit about us and a wonderful relationship that we have developed with our bankers, or at least one of our bankers, the Exim Bank. Comfort Systems is a company that is involved in what is popularly called the HVAC industry, means the heating, air conditioning, ventilation and cooling. Over the years, the business has proven quite challenging, having its ups and downs, and we have been able to withstand many of the bad storms. We are now coming out of one, and definitely we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Part of our challenge has been financing, and we have been fortunate to form what we consider a successful relationship with the Exim Bank. This has afforded us great opportunity to improve on a number of skill areas in the organization. Our inventory management process has been greatly assisted. Our purchasing and logistics capabilities have improved tremendously. We have been able to offer valuable source of credit to our existing customers, and overall I think the experience has been wonderful for us. We expect that this relationship is going to continue and grow, and there are options and opportunities that, even though we are learning, exist at Exim, and which we intend to take advantage of to see us become the household name and hopefully the international name that we are capable of becoming one of these days.